Hello, everyone. The country that we have researched is Malaysia. Within our group, we have Lita, Alec, Joseph, Martin, Locke, and Ethan. Malaysia is one of 11 countries located in Southeastern Asia. The country is made up of 13 states and 3 federal territories. The formation of Malaysia first started in 1895 with the formation of Federate Malay states. Throughout the years, the country continued to evolve, and by 1965, Malaysia had transformed into what we know it as today. The capital of Malaysia is Kuala Lumpur, located in West Central Peninsular Malaysia. As of this month, the population is estimated to be at 33.2 million, which is only 1/10 of the United States population. Malaysia also has an annual growth rate of 0.4% since 2019. In 2020, the gross domestic product per capita was estimated to be $10,402. There are 2 official languages in Malaysia, those 2 being Bahasa Malaysia or Malay and English. Malaysia has also been a part of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations since 1967. While Malaysia is able to offer many business benefits, including a strategic location in Asia, a highly qualified workforce, business-friendly legislation, and competitive tax rates, there are many factors that can hinder an expat's international performance. In efforts to prepare our US expat, we will be analyzing the similarities and differences between United States and Malaysia. Following that information, we will be providing our expat with important recommendations that will aid in their success overseas. I will now pass it on to Alec.
Hello, expat. I'm going to be going over some of the uncontrollable forces you will likely see when you move to Malaysia. One of the ones that I believe most noticeable will be that Malaysia is a much more relatively poor country when compared to America, with the average annual income at $8,500 compared to America, which is $42,000 average annual income, which is over 4 times more than Malaysia. This means that the average Malaysian citizen has much less money to spend on entertainment and stuff like that. Secondly, it is a quickly developing country, whereas America is much more steady. So stuff tends to move a lot more faster, especially in terms of technology. And lastly, one thing that you might find surprising is that when it comes to America and Malaysia, they're pretty similar when it comes into corruption with the police and political risk. Malaysia has a 62 CPI score compared to America's 67, so they're pretty similar in that aspect. As well as on Global Edge, they both are ranked as an A3 political risk score. So they might be very similar to each other in those aspects. Next will be Joseph going over some of the similarities and differences between Malaysia and America.
Hello, future expat. I want to explain some main differences there are between the United States and Malaysia that'll help prepare you before you take off. First off, I'd like to talk about the language difference between the 2 countries. In the United States, mostly everyone speaks English. Then Malaysia, some people may speak English, but the main difference there is, or main language there is Bahasa. Another difference there involves communication. In the United States, it is common in any business or social situation to shake hands no matter the gender. However, in Malaysia, many Malays are uncomfortable shaking hands with a member of the opposite gender. Another note as well, Malays use a lot of facial expressions and express their body language a lot while in a conversation. And lastly, I'd like to talk about the government type and economy state Malaysia is in compared to the United States. The United States has a democracy-ran government, while Malaysia has a constitutional monarchy government, which means that a monarch shares power with the constitutionally organized government. Malaysia's main natural resource is tin, and their top export country is China. The United States' main resource is coal, and their top export country is Mexico. These are a few of the main differences between the United States and Malaysia. And next, we'll talk about the local differences you'll notice in Malaysia.
So additional differences that an expat should know is that the weather, being a lot closer to the equator, the weather in Malaysia is a lot more humid and hot than anywhere in the United States. So the expat will need to address accordingly or plan transportation that could involve AC. Malaysia also has very different food compared to the US, with its main staple being rice. They are influenced by many other diverse cultures in their food too. Majority of Malaysia is religious, and their prayer times may affect business meetings and social meetings. Expats are not expected to practice the religion, but they should be respectful towards it and dress conservatively. Malaysia also has 14 federal public holidays, and many of them are unique to Malaysia. So the expat could know them to help plan stuff. And I'll be passing it to Lau.
So there are many challenges and differences when considering to transfer to Malaysia. So here are some recommendations I would like to advise you before you go. So I have 4 recommendations. The first one will be learning the local language. So understanding the local language will make it easier for you to communicate with local people. And secondly, learning from the experience of those who have been in Malaysia before. So that way you can get more information about Malaysia culture, the activity of Malaysian. And also the third one is developing a global mindset. So this way can help you to build strong intercultural relationship. And last but not least is learning about country rules, laws, cultures, and customer services. So you can see how different from the US and Malaysia. Now I'm going to pass to Ethan.
There are a few more important points you need to know before leaving for Malaysia. Although Malaysia's constitution protects human rights, certain regulations still restrict them. There are especially many additional limitations on the rights of migrant workers, as well as religious freedom. Media is also one of the limitations in Malaysia. Most media organizations are either controlled by the government or practice a high level of self-censorship, violating the freedom of expression. Malaysia, on the other hand, has a thriving digital media and political blogging culture. However, there are cases where social media users have been arrested and prosecuted for criticizing Malaysian royalty. With that being said, I hope that you're aware of the political implications while you're in Malaysia. Corruption is also a big issue that the government and law enforcement authorities are working to address. The majority of large Malaysian corporations are GLCs, which is government-linked companies. These are companies in which the government owns stock and which are frequently used to carry out government projects, particularly those involving foreign partners. As a result, there have been claims of anti-competitiveness, crowding out the private sector and foreign companies, and revenue being used to fund political activities. The most important point I would like to acknowledge is that intellectual property rights, as intangible assets, are a crucial aspect of foreign companies' competitiveness in Malaysia. IPR may protect the company's innovations from competitors while providing a source of revenue through licensing agreements or the sale of IP. When exporting to Malaysia, it is critical to register your rights as soon as possible so that you can protect and enforce them. Patents, trademarks, industrial design, copyrights are all protected as intellectual property in Malaysia. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your interest and attention.